A lot of people have been talking noise about the Big Red. When Raiola slings it, you get on your feet, and I want 4 quarters of smash mouth football!
Welcome, Husker fans. Thank you for tuning in to Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I am your host, Caleb Jenneret. Next to me, as always, is my co-host, Zach Jenneret. Zach, how you doing today?
You know, it's another week of Husker football here. I think it's another winnable game. I think it's another chance to be bowl eligible. There's hope. There's, new faces. There's a new face to the offense, which has been a struggle all year. We're gonna probably get right into it, but yeah, that's my hope. New faces means new opportunities.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Dana Holgorsen. Obviously, it's the big news this week. We're going to get into the USC game, and then we're going to get into our best picks of the weekend, our little Bet the Mortgage segment at the end. But first, want to make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. Like the video. Comment down below your score prediction for the USC game, and follow us on socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. That's where you're going to get all your extra content. But yeah, getting right into it. Dana Holgorsen, new offensive coordinator of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, starting yesterday. Definitely a surprise. If you watched last week's episode, we talked about, he's not really going to do anything. Like, he's going to give some tips. He's going to learn the guys. Maybe he's coming in to take over next year. Turns out he's the guy now. He's going to call the plays. Matt Rule admitted, we'd love to have him back next year as the offensive coordinator. But obviously, Matt Rule said he could get some head coaching offers. He's definitely going to get some high-level offensive coordinator offers. Florida State's open. Oklahoma's going to be open. He's been mentioned at those spots as well. So the fact that Matt Rule got him in here and got him situated, he's going to learn the players. He's going to learn the offense. He's going to be able to kind of implement his system, get a head start with it, where he would be starting fresh at those other places. I think that's really good. I know, Zach, you have some feelings about Dana Holgorsen. In that, not that he's a bad offensive coordinator, just that we should leave ourselves open to other possibilities. But I just want to get into how the offense is actually going to change. And I'll let you get into your points after this. But I don't think a lot is going to actually change. I think Dana Holgorsen is going to call the plays. He's going to get different guys involved, and that brings me to my first point. I think the passing game is going to improve. And we talked about how good offenses were under Dana Holgorsen with West Virginia, Oklahoma State, Houston. The best thing to me, he gets his best athletes the ball. When it comes to he comes from the air raid, he comes from the Mike Leach tree, but it's not a true air raid. It's not like everybody 5 wide, run. He's had rushers of over 1,400 yards. He had Tavon Austin at West Virginia. He got him the ball out of the backfield, as a receiver, as a returner. He is not willing to be different. When he was at Oklahoma State, he had the best receiver in the country in Justin Blackmon, and he manipulated defenses in a way where they had to guard him one-on-one and ended up having, most receiving yards in the country, being a top 5 pick. So Dana Holgorsen is, I don't want to say genius just because I'm not too familiar with his offensive philosophy, but he is really smart in the way he can manipulate defenses and kind of get people the ball in open space. And I think that's really important. As we've seen this year, we have athletes. We just need to get them the ball. And I think we're relying a little bit too heavily on system. And I think my second point was I think Dylan is going to be more comfortable. Lately with the offense, it's looked like run the ball, Dylan, bail us out. Run the ball, Dylan, try to get a first down. If we don't get it, Dylan, bail us out. It's like there's no function and there's no schedule. And I think, Dana is familiar enough with really good quarterbacks where he's like, let's get some layups, bring those safeties up, run the ball, bring those safeties up, hit a shot. Like, he knows what he's doing, and we've seen what can happen when Dylan is confident. he's kind of lost his confidence over the last few games. Starting out the year, he was very confident, and he was showing like he can make all these off angle throws, and he can make all the deep throws. He can make every single throw you want him to make. He just needs that confidence to know that when he sees a guy, he needs to throw it, no hesitation. But then, as I said, I don't think a lot's going to change. I don't think Nebraska is going to come out, scoring 50 points a game. Maybe, there's another touchdown a game. Maybe it just looks more fluid. But you got to realize, like, Dana's working with 2 weeks here. Like, he got in here last week. He could have been watching film before. He could have been studying up. But in reality, he's had 2 weeks with the guys. Obviously, hope I'm proven wrong. I don't think we're just going to come out guns blazing. I hope it does look a little bit smoother, which I think it will. And the play calling will be better, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think you're going to see a new Nebraska here. I don't think you're going to see a Nebraska that you don't recognize. But I also think games like Illinois and Ohio State and even UCLA are won and lost in things that he can come in and change, right? So I talked about last episode, instead of 3rd and 8, we're at 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3. So 2nd and 10, we're looking at 2nd and 6. Things like that stacked on top of each other is how you win big games. It's not, creating huge offensive explosive plays where you just chuck it down the field a bunch. That's not how you win those really big tight games. It's, a few yards here, a few yards there, create 5 more first downs, which create, 1 extra drive that scores, and then another extra field goal, and there you got 10 points. So that takes we're usually looking at 17 points to 27 points already. And our defense, we know, can hold most teams under that 27 mark. And so I think it's little tiny things like that are going to help this team succeed. Like you said, I think he's going to be great. I think he's a great fit. I think he's a great OC. I think it's really good that we have 3 and then hopefully 4 games to evaluate him, essentially, before we say, let's take him into next year. But at the end of the day, I do think that, the phone should stay open as well this offseason, because there's a lot of people that move a lot of crazy ways in the college football offseason. No one would have thought that Chip Kelly would be running the Ohio State offense this year at this time last year. I'll tell you that. With 3 games left on the season, no one thought the UCLA head coach would be running, a very good head coach would be running the Ohio State offense right now. So a lot of things can change. I think he's definitely someone that we know we have there, but at the end of the day, definitely don't quit looking as well. But I think it's going to be some little tiny improvements that make some massive gains.
Yeah, for sure. So getting into the USC game, they've also made a change, and that brings me to my first point. So we're going to do our 3 keys. My first key is you have to get to the quarterback in this game. Miller Moss is benched. They're saying he's in the transfer portal already. I haven't seen anything official about that, but he's not playing. It's Jaden Maeva. He is in. Maeva's more mobile, but he's not the passer. He's not as polished of a passer as Miller Moss is. Against UCLA, Nebraska, got to Ethan Garbers a little bit. They had some pressure on him, just couldn't bring him down, and that's where you get those big runs that he had. You just can't have that. And if Nebraska can get to Maeva and bring him down, you force him to process quicker. He hasn't played a lot. This is the best defense he's ever played at the college level. He played against Michigan last year, but he wasn't like the starter. He wasn't like the main guy. So this is definitely the best defense that he's started against. But you need to get to him. You need to rattle him, especially a guy in his first start against a Big Ten defense. He's gonna have some issues, and I think Nebraska can get after him. But you have to bring him down, because if you don't bring him down, you're gonna see what you saw against Ethan Garbers, where he breaks the first one and then he escapes up the middle for 40. He's not some track star, but he can move probably just as well as Ethan Garbers can. So got to get him down, and you got to get to him.
Yeah, that was also my first one. Not because people have got to USC all year or anything, but just solely because it is a backup quarterback, it is a guy going into his first actual start. He is seeing definitely his best defensive front that he's seen his entire career. But outside of the sacks, a lot of things are created because of pressure. A lot of picks are created because of pressure. A lot of just bad throws are created. Then you add in the sack fumbles that are created. Extra drives equal extra points, hopefully, and so which obviously equals wins. So a lot of that game starts with our QB pressure. I don't think USC has a bad offensive line, but I don't think it's spectacular even, either. I think it's pretty much deadlock in the middle. So I think we can definitely get after him as well.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to my next point. Nebraska has to dominate the lines. They have to dominate up front. USC runs the ball less than anybody in the Big Ten. Statistically, they're not that bad. Like, they're top 10 in the conference in, yards, but they run it way less. And Nebraska's going to have the chance to tee off with their pass rush a little bit and trust their interior D-line to stop the run because Nebraska obviously has a top 5 run defense in the Big Ten, top 15 unit in the country. So they're going to have the opportunity to kind of send those guys, send James Williams off the edge super fast, send Jamari Butler to get to Maeva. And then moving over to their defensive line, they have no starters over 300 pounds. They're bottom 5 in the Big Ten in TFLs, tied for last in sacks. They're just not very good. Their D-line's just not very good. They're not going to be able to get pressure unless they blitz. Nebraska's O-line should have their best Big Ten game in this one. Obviously, they're going to be better than UTEP. They're going to be better than Northern Illinois. But there's no Big Ten team Nebraska has faced with a worse defensive line than what USC is facing. And if Nebraska can control the clock, get some push on the offensive line, get to Jaden Maeva, keep the ball in the offense's hands, and they can score their points, I don't want to give anything away, but I like their chances.
Yeah, my next one is you have to establish the run. So I'm not saying we have to go out there and rush for 350 yards by any means because I don't think that's necessary. But I do think that, Holgorsen needs to know that, or I think he does know that, the reason we haven't been able to pass the ball isn't because we have bad receivers or we have a bad quarterback. We get a little pressure here and there, probably more than I would like on Raiola, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's the fact that teams can just have a 4-man front and the other 7 guys can just defend the pass. Yeah. Your linebackers, corners, and safeties can all defend the pass because we can't run the ball. So you don't need to respect it. If you start running the ball for 5, 6 yards a gain, they start putting 7, 8 guys in the box. That's when guys like Ja'Cory Barney, Jalen Lloyd, Isaiah Nair, Jamal Banks, Thomas Fidoni, even Carter Nelson come out and show themselves because they're a little faster, they're a little bigger, they go up and get it. Type guys will definitely benefit from less guys out there, or more guys defending the run, obviously less guys ready to defend the pass.
Yeah. So my last one is, the secondary just needs to figure it out. There's been some real struggles. Against Indiana, obviously Nebraska gave up 56. Corners looked terrible, got beat every single time they had a chance at the ball. Against Ohio State, the run D was dominant. Secondary got beat for the big touchdowns. Against UCLA, Nebraska corners were picked on, gave up some long touchdowns. Besides Ohio State, Colorado, and maybe Indiana, these are the best weapons that Nebraska is going to face all year. So you saw it against Colorado, and this kind of goes back to my first point. When Nebraska gets pressure against Colorado, you saw it happened. The weapons, didn't matter. They didn't have enough time to get open. So as long as the secondary can hold up just a little bit and let the D-line get home, as I said, I think Nebraska's going to be in good shape. But Isaac Gifford can't get beat down the middle. Malcolm Hartzog can't get caught hesitating. Tommy Hill, I think, is going to be a full go in this one, so that's good. And then Sierra Wright, revenge game in this one. So excited to see what can happen there.
Yeah, my last one is something I haven't seen the Huskers do in a very, very long time. And that's find a way to win, right? So you look at like UTEP. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but we essentially found a way to not lose, right? We
Right.
weren't not like, oh, here's how we're gonna win. It's like you just don't do anything stupid and you'll go out there and win. You look at Colorado. I mean, it was essentially just play you, and you'll go out there and win the game because you're far more superior than them. Same thing against you and I. Same thing against Purdue. When you look at games like Illinois, we found a way to lose. UCLA, we found a way to lose. Ohio State, same thing, found a way to lose. Every Iowa game in the last 8 years, other than the one time we blew them out in Iowa City, we found a way to lose.
Yeah.
This Nebraska team hasn't found a way to go win yet. It's either find a way to not lose or find a way to lose.
Right.
It's never, it's the fourth quarter and there's 2 minutes left and we're down by 4 and we find a way to go win that game. Or it's an overtime versus Wisconsin last year. We find a way to go win it. We always find a way to lose, right? Or we find a way to hold on to a huge lead, and then maybe that lead gets a little smaller, but we still find a way to not lose. But yeah, that's the biggest thing, because I think this game will be close.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be one where you got to go win it in the fourth quarter. So that's what you got to do. You got to find a way to win.
Yeah. So getting into our score predictions, Nebraska, as of Tuesday night when we're recording this, USC is a 9-point favorite with a 50.5 point total, meaning Vegas is predicting a 30-21 win for USC. For me, it seems like a lot, but then you think about it, Nebraska's played recently against inferior weapons with, in comparison to USC, against UCLA, and hasn't looked great. So I can see what Vegas is looking at here, but I do think it's a little bit closer than that, obviously. And I think Nebraska has a lot of success with their offensive line. I think Raiola has some time. I think the running backs get going. I think Dana, finds some lanes, finds some plays that work. I think he's going to get Dana Holgorsen, or I think he's going to get Ja'Cory Barney involved. I would watch out for, a guy like Thomas Fidone getting going over the middle, just because he's bigger. I mean, USC on defense is just, I don't want to say small, but they're not big. And Thomas Fidone's a big dude, so I'd watch out for him getting the ball rumbling down the field. I think the defense gets after Maeva. I think he makes some mistakes. I think he makes some mistakes late. I think Nebraska covers, obviously, but I also think they win outright, 24-20. So the under also hits by about 6 points.
Yeah, so mine's pretty similar to that. I do think this is kind of a back and forth game. I don't know who leads it most of the time, who trails most of the time. But I do think that at the end we are trailing. I do think in the fourth quarter we're down. But I do think we find a way to win. And I think if we can actually go find a way to win this game, I think we win the next 2. Because I think if we're down, which I think will be 21-17 in the fourth, and we go score, and we go up 24-21, and that's my final score prediction, I think this team is going to have a new mindset, a new hope, right? A new life brought into them, and they're going to find a way to go win against Wisconsin at home on senior night. They're going to go find a way to win in Iowa City against a really good team. So I think 24-21 against USC. If we can find a way to win at the end, I think we win the next 2 games. If we find a way to hold on, it's 50-50 shots. If we find a way to lose, Wisconsin's our best shot, and it'll be tight.
Yeah, and looking at how some of these games with Wisconsin and Iowa have gone, it gives you some more hope, obviously. Wisconsin getting killed by Iowa, and then it'll be a big tell to see how Wisconsin looks against Oregon, because Oregon's, I guess we'll get into it later actually, but and then Iowa gets beat by UCLA, and UCLA runs all over them. So, yeah, I think all these games are winnable. I just think a mindset change needs to happen, and maybe Dana Holgorsen helps that. Get the offense gets going. Maybe they get some confidence in themselves. The defense is confident. We see it every week in and week out. Maybe there's a few plays here and there where they get tight, where it's close, but they're confident. They play well. I just think the offense needs to get going, and the entire team needs to have a little mindset change, because they can do it. They can win all 3 of these games. And I think J.D. Piquel said it today from On 3. He said, if Nebraska can win this game, if Nebraska, if the offense gets going a little bit more, he predicted them to go 8-4. So people know that Nebraska can win these games. It's just the fact that Nebraska has historically never won these kind of games. So that's what's tough to predict it. But we got to start with USC. And I think we both predicted a win, actually pretty similar scores, only 1 point off from yours. But yeah, getting into our picks for the week now. I don't know what our record is. We took so much time off that it kind of just got lost. We definitely have struggled the past few weeks. But I feel good about these. So my first one, I got this early, which it actually hasn't changed much with the news. Tennessee, Georgia, under 49. Nico is out. Nico's not expected to play this week. I think that obviously bodes well for Georgia. But I think the under 49 is an easy pick for me, because both offenses have already struggled. Tennessee's playing really good defense. Everybody knows Georgia has a really good defense. And when Tennessee on offense wants to run the ball. So they're gonna take some clock off. Carson Beck needs to prove it to me that he can do anything on offense. He has not been good. I think they're both going to struggle to get going. And I think, this ends, 2013, 24-10, if Georgia really gets going, or if Tennessee gets going, I guess. I just find that hard to believe without Nico. But, yeah, the under, easy hit for me.
Yeah, my next one is BYU -3 versus Kansas. Now, Kansas, congratulations. You beat Iowa State, right? You did. You beat Iowa State. You beat quite possibly the biggest frauds in the entire country.
Hey, they beat Iowa.
Yeah. I've never seen a top 10 team that I didn't believe in, less than Iowa State. To be honest with you, the Big 12 is a joke. Nebraska would win the Big 12 if we were in it. Let's be real. BYU is your top team. BYU's not, anything super special. But my thing with this game is KU is still a bad team in my eyes. This is at BYU at 9:15. The last time I saw a Kansas team go to BYU at 9:15, I saw some little blonde Mormon kid take a 97-yard punt return back and around about 4 times on the field for a touchdown, and an absolute stomp in the face to Kansas State. And Kansas State is a much better team than this KU team, I think. I know they didn't play like it in the game they had against each other. But yeah, I think KU is going to struggle. I think BYU is definitely not the number 7 team in the nation, but I think they might be the 17th. I think KU might be the 117th. So -3 that's not nearly enough. I think -13 is a little closer to what this line should be.
Yeah, I was actually going to bet on BYU, but then I saw you had them. So I actually did. I mean, I bet on BYU, but they were going to be on my picks, but I changed it. My next one, Oregon -14 over Wisconsin. I don't think Wisconsin's good. I think Oregon is legit. Oregon's only getting better each week. Wisconsin, it looked like they were getting better. I think they just benefited from playing Purdue, Northwestern, and a beat-down Rutgers team. So I think Oregon rolls in this one. I think Oregon wins by 20+.
Yeah, mine is Tennessee +10 versus Georgia. It's pretty much anyone, any week in the SEC. And so Georgia goes out, gets stomped by Ole Miss last week. Tennessee's beat Alabama. Alabama, obviously beat Georgia. Georgia beat Texas. And so, like I said, it's anyone, any week. I'm not saying Tennessee's going to go win this. I just think 10 is a lot, to be honest with you.
Backup quarterback, though.
Yes, backup quarterback. I get that, but it's either it's either not nearly enough or it's way too many. Right? No one expected Georgia to get stomped like that against Ole Miss. But yeah, it's like I said, it's either not nearly enough or it's way too many. So I'll go with the way too many.
Yeah, that's fair. And then my last one is Tulane -7 over Navy. I think Navy is still getting credited for their undefeated start, but they just weren't playing anybody. I think Tulane is a top 5 Group of 5 team. We just saw that they're ranked in the top 25 of the college football playoff poll. I think Tulane rolls in this one, similar to what Oregon's going to do to Wisconsin.
Yeah. My next one is LSU -4.5 versus Florida. I do think LSU is a good team. I understand that, they played really bad against Alabama. But I do think they're a good team. I do think Florida is a bad football team. I think Florida has a bad football coach. I don't think LSU has a great football coach. I don't think LSU is a great team, but I think they're much better than 4.5 points over a Florida team. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a good quarterback as well, and I think this is a touchdown or more kind of win here, probably a 10-point win for me. So, like I said, 4.5, just not enough points here.
Yeah, for that one, I'd worried about DJ Lagway. I think he's coming back in this one, but yeah. Not much around him. So, I'd probably side with you. I wouldn't bet on it, but I'll side on you. So yeah, that's all our picks. That's our breakdown. Make sure you subscribe, leave a like, hit the bell, comment down below your score prediction for the USC game as well as your best pick of the weekend. But yeah, Zach, you got anything else?
No, right now.
All right, without further ado, go Big Red.
If we die, we die! If we die, we die!